Here's something that might shock cycling purists. Dominance in sprint stages isn't just about raw speed, it's about tactical brilliance, and Jasper Philipsen just proved that point magnificently. The Belgian powerhouse from Alpecin-Deceuninck has now secured his third stage victory in the 2025 Vuelta a España, and frankly, he's making it look almost too easy. On Friday's 19th stage from Rueda to Guijuelo, covering 161.9 kilometers of Spanish terrain, Philipsen once again demonstrated why he's arguably the most lethal sprinter in this year's race. But here's where it gets controversial. While other teams exhausted themselves controlling the pace and positioning for the sprint, Alpecin-Deceuninck played it smart, letting everyone else do the dirty work before launching their perfectly timed assault in the final kilometer. Some might call this opportunistic. Others would say it's pure tactical genius. What unfolded on Friday was essentially a masterclass in sprint strategy. The stage profile was flat as a pancake, sandwiched between more challenging mountain stages, making it a prime opportunity for the speed merchants to shine. For cycling newcomers, think of this as the calm before the storm. A transition stage where sprinters get their moment before the climbers take center stage again. The day began with the predictable early breakaway featuring Jakub Otruba from Caja Rural Seguros RGA and Victor Guernalec of Arkea B Hotels. In professional cycling, these early escapes are like a chess opening. Everyone knows they're probably doomed, but they serve a strategic purpose. The peloton seemed to have that end-of-school term feeling, with Madrid's finish line approaching, letting the duo slip away without much fuss. Interestingly, Guernalec threw in the towel with 140 kilometers still to race, leaving Otruba to battle the headwinds alone across the exposed Spanish countryside. Picture this: one rider grinding through straight, wind-swept roads, knowing full well that the charging peloton behind will eventually swallow him up. It's cycling's version of David versus Goliath, except Goliath almost always wins. The intermediate sprint in Salamanca, positioned 59 kilometers from the finish, suddenly injected some unexpected drama into what had been a relatively sleepy affair. And this is the part most people miss. While everyone expected the designated sprinters to fight for the secondary prizes, Jonas Vingegaard from Visma Lease Bike threw a curveball that left his general classification rival, João Almeida, stunned. Vingegaard, who's leading the overall race, unexpectedly sprinted for bonus seconds, a move that caught UAE Team Emirates XRG completely off guard. They apparently took the wrong route around a roundabout. Yes, even professional cyclists can make navigation errors, allowing Vingegaard to snatch 4 precious bonus seconds. Almeida's frustrated headshake said it all. Those 4 seconds could prove decisive in what's shaping up to be a nail-biting overall battle. Suddenly, Almeida found himself 44 seconds behind in the general classification instead of 40, a gap that might seem insignificant to casual observers, but represents an eternity in professional cycling's razor-thin margins. The crosswinds that briefly stirred the peloton outside Salamanca provided another tactical subplot. For those unfamiliar with cycling's complexities, crosswinds are a sprinter's nightmare and a tactician's dream. They can split the peloton into smaller groups called echelons, potentially eliminating rival sprinters before the final sprint even begins. However, Friday's winds weren't strong enough to cause the chaos that some teams might have hoped for. Mario Aparicio and Sergio Giovanni Chumil from Burgos BH attempted a cheeky late attack, briefly raising hopes of disrupting the anticipated sprint finish. But the mathematics of professional cycling are unforgiving. 2 riders simply cannot sustain the pace required to hold off a motivated peloton of 150-plus riders. As the race approached Guijuelo, positioned northwest of Madrid, the tension ratcheted up considerably. The riders navigated a technical loop around the town before facing the day's crucial challenge, a slight uphill rise to the finish line. In sprint finishes, even the smallest gradient changes can dramatically alter the outcome. Ineos Grenadiers initially took control of the pace-setting duties. with their powerhouse duo of Michał Kwiatkowski and Filippo Ganna, driving the tempo for their sprinter, Ben Turner. For cycling enthusiasts, watching Ganna, a time trial world champion, suffering in service of his teammates' sprint ambitions, perfectly illustrates the sport's team-first mentality. But here's where Philipsen's team showed their championship mettle. Instead of getting drawn into an early positioning battle, Alpecin-Deceuninck waited until the final moments to make their move. It was a calculated gamble that required nerves of steel and perfect timing. Philipsen only opened his sprint inside the final 200 meters, using the late gradient increase to his advantage. The result? His third stage victory of this Vuelta, with Denmark's Mads Pedersen settling for second place and Venezuela's Orluis Aular claiming the final podium spot. For the complete stage results, Philipsen crossed the line in 3 hours 50 minutes and 35 seconds, followed by Pedersen, Aular, Jens Biermans, Ben Turner, Arne Marit, Fabio Christen, Ethan Vernon, Thibaut Gruel, and Jordan Labros rounding out the top 10. The general classification remains equally compelling, with Vingegaard maintaining his overall lead in 68 hours, 58 minutes, and 28 seconds. Almeida sits 44 seconds back, while Thomas Pidcock, Jai Hindley, and Giulio Pellizzari complete the top 5, trailing by 2:43, 3:22, and 4:23 respectively. Philipsen now has one final opportunity to add to his stage tally when the race concludes in Madrid on Sunday. With momentum clearly on his side and his team functioning like a well-oiled machine, he's positioning himself as the undisputed sprint king of this year's Vuelta. But here's the million-dollar question that cycling fans are debating. Is Philipsen's tactical approach, letting others do the work before striking, brilliant strategy, or unsporting opportunism? Some argue that cycling is a team sport where every rider contributes to the collective effort. Others contend that conserving energy for the decisive moment is simply smart racing. What do you think? Should sprinters be expected to contribute more to pace-setting duties, or is Philipsen's approach the evolution of modern sprint tactics? The debate rages on, and Sunday's final sprint stage in Madrid might provide the ultimate answer.